Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to E-Comm Elevated. I'm your host Pete from Soapbox. We made this show for listeners like you who are looking to grow, build, and succeed in the e-commerce industry. However, this landscape is consistently changing, with new players, ideas, and business models being introduced daily, which honestly at times can just be a lot to manage. That's why we sit down with industry leaders to discuss their tips for success, reveal their secrets of the trade, and so much more, which you can use to elevate your business above the competition. Welcome, and I really hope you enjoy the show. Hey everyone, today we're going to be discussing one of my favorite topics, logistics. I know, it's not everyone's favorite, but hear me out. We can all agree that the logistics industry has really made some dramatic changes over the last couple of years. So much so that every e-commerce brand today has made or will make the decision of whether or not to keep their order fulfillment in-house or to entrust in someone else to maintain it for them. Our next guest will give us some insights on how we can make these decisions easier. Hey everyone, today we're going to be discussing one of my favorite topics, logistics. I know, it's not everyone's favorite, but hear me out. We can all agree that the logistics industry has really seen some dramatic changes over the last couple of years. So much so that every e-commerce brand today has made or will make the decision of whether to keep their order fulfillment in-house or entrust in someone else to maintain it for them. Our next guest will give us some insights on how we can make these decisions a little easier. Please welcome the co-founders of OTW Shipping, Nick Malinowski and Parker Barns. Hello, gentlemen, and welcome to E-Comm Elevated. How are you doing today?
Good. How you doing?
Not bad. Nick, how are you doing?
Enjoying life, staying busy. Busy's good, right?
Yeah, busy's great. Busy's always really good. Where are you joining us from today, Nick?
I am in Hartford, Connecticut. So I'm out on the East Coast, actually.
Nice. And what about you there, Parker?
Yeah, I'm out in Salt Lake City, Utah. So out in the main hub for OTW.
Nice. I'm pretty jealous of both of you right now. I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona, and it's like 105 degrees. So I'll trade you guys any day of the week.
I'll tell you that I have a grandpa and a grandma who live down in Scottsdale or in the area. I think Sun City, big retirement home area. And
yep.
Yeah, Arizona. I'm not a heat guy. Arizona was not one of my favorite states.
No.
I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you at all. Before we get started, I want to get into a little bit about you guys' background. You guys have such completely different backgrounds from one another. So Nick, I'm going to start with you, and I'm going to pick on you for a little bit here. So to be honest with you, man, your last name took me a little bit to practice. I don't know why, but I looked at it and it's really intimidating to me. But I think I worked it out.
Yeah, it's Polish background, but I don't think I'm actually Polish. I got told way back when it used to be in like Austria, Hungary area as well. So, yeah, people butcher it all the time. They usually leave off the W.
Definitely. I mean, my last name is not easy at all, and people butchered it all the time too. So where did you graduate from?
I graduated from George Mason University out in DC area.
And then you majored in tech and marketing, right?
Yeah, I had a marketing major and minors in IT and Spanish.
And I mean, what made you take this leap into logistics? I mean, you majored in marketing and tech, but you're going completely left when it's coming to the logistical aspect. So why did that jump?
So I think this kind of leads into Parker's background too. But the only experience that I had really had in fulfillment before this was as a high school kid. Over the summers, just working for a buddy's dad, doing some, pick and pack type of work. So that was the only experience I had, but, I'll kind of like pass it over to Parker, but basically the timing was when I was graduating. That was when Parker sort of initially brought up that idea and we started kind of thinking it out, but I'll kind of pass it off to Parker for that.
I haven't forgot about you, Parker, yet. Trust me. I know you graduated from the University of Utah. Now tell everybody what you majored in, because I can't.
I did biomedical engineering, which I wouldn't suggest for anybody looking for a logistics background.
It's definitely a little bit different. I don't even know how you made that leap.
So I've always had a passion for engineering and like the sciences. And if you ask anybody that knows my family, me and all my siblings, we're just injury prone, accident prone, anything like that. And so we're always in and out of hospitals and doctors' offices and stuff. So I always liked engineering, the concept of it. And given that I spent so much time around the medical field, I was like, all right, biomedical engineering it is. And then obviously, internships can be hard to come by. And through my first couple years of college, I just made a connection and started working in a warehouse down a little bit south of me, doing pick and pack and a lot of the fulfillment processes, FBA, everything like that. And I'm not the most creative guy when it comes to new products, but I know that other people are. And if there's a need for fulfillment, then we could take advantage of it. So that's why I brought it up to Nick, because I was kind of in the heat of it and figured if there's a time to do it, it'd probably be now.
Where did you guys meet? Did you guys just meet in college, or were you guys buddies before?
We're both from the Cleveland area, Cleveland, Ohio. And then we've been in the same school since we were like 6th grade. So, we've known each other since then, even down to the point where I think in like 5th grade, we both skipped a grade in math, and we were in this like little room for nerds in our math class. So that's kind of where it all started for us.
So you guys were terrifying teachers at 6 years old together. That's kind of rough, man. I'm not going to lie. You guys terrify, soapbox every single day. I hear about it every single day. So it's awesome.
We were troublesome in school, not necessarily from doing super bad things, but just being a pain in the butt. So we were not a good pair to have in classes together. That's for sure.
I bet. So let's explain this to people that don't know. What is a 3PL? What does it stand for?
Yeah, so a 3PL stands for third-party logistics, and most often that's associated with a fulfillment center, with pick and pack fulfillment and things like that for usually direct-to-consumer companies. But at the same time, third-party logistics kind of expands beyond fulfillment. There's a lot of other areas in logistics and supply chain, obviously. Freight is just one example of that. So a 3PL could be any sort of logistics organization that you hire to handle shipments or anything in your supply chain on your behalf.
Like we talked about earlier, at some point, every business has to make the decision on whether or not they want to keep this in-house. All right. And this is a hard decision for everybody to make. On our side, if you think about it, a 3PL, you're trusting someone not only that they're going to maintain the same level of, respect and attention to detail with your products, but also your customers, right? So why would a business want to hire a 3PL versus, keeping it in-house?
Yeah, so that's definitely a loaded question. There's a lot to unwrap there, but from a high level, we have brands who will try and outsource fulfillment right off the bat because they just heard that that's what you should do. At the same time, we've had brands on the other end who have stuff in house, and they even have their own warehouse, and they're moving products, and they want to switch. So it's really individualized whether you actually need a 3PL for that or not. And if you're checking Reddit or Core or anything, I mean, there's so many questions almost daily about, what do I need a 3PL? What should I look for in a 3PL? Things like that. But the main reasons that a company will switch over to a 3PL, cost it could be one of them. Depending on your product, if you're a smaller company and you have some heavier products, a 3PL could potentially save you on rates there, even off the bat, if they have minimums or things like that. But at the same time, a 3PL could be more expensive for you. The real advantage comes in that opportunity cost. You running your business, especially these small businesses where it's 1, 2, 3, 4 person teams. You running that business, what you do best is probably your marketing, your sales, your products, growing your brand. Whereas fulfillment is definitely not something that you're specialized in. And so from that aspect, most of these brands start in-house. They might be starting in their garage or something like that. And they've been picking and packing orders themselves, but now it's taking up 2, 3, 4 hours their day plus. And that's time that's taking away from them growing their brand, focusing on the sales and marketing side of that. And so what a 3PL does is really take that, what you want to focus on what you do well, and fulfillment isn't that. So a 3PL takes that off your plate. And any brand at scale, that's what you want to do. You double down on what you do well and outsource what you don't. So that's the main thing, but other things could be, faster shipping and processing times. It might take you 2 to 3 days to pack orders in your house, but a 3PL can process those same day. Another thing is location. If you are in California, but the majority of your customers are East Coast, then you might want a warehouse out there, and that just negates any cost increases for a 3PL there. And then the last thing is, once you start growing, even if you've been knocking it out in house, eventually you're going to have to step up into some sort of warehouse footprint and hire workers and things like that. So, the question is, do you want to commit to a 3 to 5 year lease? Especially right now, warehouse space is in high demand. Vacancies are at all-time lows. These brokers are demanding 3 5 year leases plus. So do you want to take on that space? Do you want to commit to all of the assets of racking and forklifts and, figuring out all that from scratch, as well as managing people, which is the hardest part? Do you want to do all that, or do you want to pay 10% more for your fulfillment overall, but you're getting it done right, it's getting done well, and that time is now spent growing your brand. So those are kind of the main things that people look at when they want to start with a 3PL.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of information right off the top to really digest for everybody. And honestly, I mean, it really breaks down to your business, right? Some of these people, or some of these businesses, can save up to 50%, where you're talking overhead, you're talking insurance, you're talking packaging. There's a lot of stuff that goes into running your own warehouse and running your own team that a lot of these logistics that a lot of these 3PL companies just do for you. Gives you the time back that you need to grow your brand, right? There are so many logistical partners out there right now. I mean, since COVID, it's exploded. You touched on it with the warehouses. That's where it's all going, right? People are going in, getting into 3PLs because it's where everybody's going online. And, we're going to need a really good, backbone to really be able to maintain the order quantities that everybody has, right? So how do you know you're going to be choosing the right 3PL on your side?
If everybody had the answer to that, it'd be a very simple process, but there's definitely a few key factors to consider when you're thinking about choosing the right 3PL partner. And the biggest one that we would say, which we definitely give to people who may not be the best fit for us, or are just shopping around for different 3PL partners in general, is don't focus only on price, right? Obviously, that is a critical part of a business model, is saving money and cutting costs where you can. But finding a good 3PL that is a little bit maybe more expensive, but at the same time more reliable, that's definitely worth the added investment. If you find a 3PL that says that they're going to have these crazy low rates and charge you pennies for shipping and pennies for pick and pack, it sounds great until maybe you commit and you get into the warehouse and it's a miserable experience. They don't have good customer service, the whole 9 yards. And then switching 3PLs is even more expensive than initially finding one that is more reliable and a bit more expensive. So the biggest piece of advice we give is just don't focus primarily on price alone. Another key aspect is, communication is huge between a client and a 3PL. Nobody likes to be left on red or have terrible support. And so, if you're finding these 3PLs that give you good support, that are quick to respond in the sales process, that are quick to respond when you're onboarding, those are the ones you want to look for, because that's going to give you kind of a taste of what their support is going to be like throughout the duration of your partnership. And then, this kind of may be a little bit more simple and unreliable in a sense, but just look for reviews online and customer reviews of their clients. Obviously you can get people who might fake reviews, and that's just the nature of business, I guess. But, try to kind of weed out a couple of reviews that seem sincere, get in touch with the people and see, what their experience is like with these different 3PLs. That's the biggest thing I would say is making sure that you do your due diligence and just consider all factors when you're looking for a 3PL that's right for you.
But really, at the end of the day, people need to understand, or business owners need to understand, that this is going to be an extension of your company, right? They're going to be representing you. So you want to partner with someone that is going to be very similar in nature when it comes to, the type of atmosphere and the type of, people that work for your company. So don't choose the first one that pops up. Definitely. You want to spend a little bit of time. You want to find people that are out. And the money portion, it's about quality, right? You got to pay for quality. People buy iPhones because, it's something that they can rely on. And it's the same thing with 3PLs. Cheap is one thing, but, quality is another.
It's a pretty well-known thing that 3PLs can, be two of three things, cheap, fast, and good. And so you kind of got to find a balance there. And yeah, a lot of it comes down to, the fulfillment is the final touch point. That's to your customer's experience with your brand, like you were saying. So, saving 10 cents per order, is that going to make a difference if orders are going out late, if orders are going out inaccurately? If your brand is getting damaged, that 10 cents per order goes down the drain. And that really doesn't make a difference. So yeah, penny pinching has led many, even us, we've had a lot of clients who might have gone somewhere different through the quotation process and said, hey, these people are 15, 20 cents cheaper. And then they'll come back, 4 months down the road and say, man, it's like they just came out of a war zone. They're like, man, that was a horrible experience. They lost my inventory. Nothing was getting out on time. And now they're switching back. And like Parker was saying, the cost of switching, you have to send all your inventory somewhere else now. So the 10 cents you would have saved on each order is now totally lost because you just spent $3,000 sending everything to a new warehouse. So it's really, you have to think of 3PL as an investment in your brand and not just a cost center.
Yeah, definitely. And when you're going to look for a 3PL, there should be some things that you're looking at your own business to have upfront and ready to go that will make this whole process so much easier. Can you share what some of those things may be that everybody wants to look in before they come in and start looking for a 3PL?
Yeah. So I think the first thing is obviously, their capabilities. Do their services match your needs? As a 3PL, you can do everything okay, or you can do some things really well. And that's a reason that you have fulfillment centers that focus on apparel, that focus on refrigerated products, that focus on, medical devices, anything like that. There are 3PLs that focus in these different verticals. And the reason for that is, for example, an apparel company is high SKU, high return, versus like a protein bar company. They might need, refrigeration or temperature control. They might need first expire, first out picking. But depending on your product, there's very different needs. And I mean, for example, if you sold like washers and dryers, that's very different from handling apparel or handling those protein numbers. And it comes down to even the warehouse itself. The way an apparel 3PL is designed, its footprint is going to look completely different than a company who does washers and dryers that they're fulfilling. And their software might be different because 3PL software, 3PLs use a variety of different softwares, and some of them are better for certain things and some of them aren't. And so that's kind of where you want to make sure they have the capabilities where they handle products and brands that are similar to yours. Now, if it's something like a car or a board game or a card game where there's no special handling, like that's just a common product, then you don't need to find a company that, has extensive experience handling that. But if you have more of a specialized type of product, it's definitely something where you want to find a fulfillment center that has experience doing that. And then it kind of goes without saying, but their software, you want to make sure that they have integrations for everything that you handle. So if you are direct to consumer, you want to make sure, most 3PLs have this, but you want to make sure they have a Shopify integration if you're on Shopify. If you send inventory into Amazon, for FBA, they should be able to do that. And then on the B2B side, do they have EDI? Can they integrate, through EDI? Or do they have integrations with Fair or Wayfair or these other sites that might have different labeling requirements, things like that. So obviously, first thing is capabilities. Do they have experience handling your product like yours and have the technology that can integrate with your software?
And that's pretty big too with new marketplaces, establishing every single day from one day to another. That's really huge. making sure your compatibility is the same. Not only that, the capacity level, right? So you need to make sure that these 3PLs are able to grow with you at the same time. You might start with a small quantity of items, but you never know what the future may hold. Can you explain a little bit how the capacity works when it comes to a 3PL provider?
So capacity, like really it's, can they handle your volume as you grow? And most of these brands will usually start, like historically, they start at a more mom and pop type of 3PL where they've got great communication, but then at some point, your brand blew up and now they're a couple days behind on orders because they just can't handle that increase in volume. And most people default to just jumping into a 3PL like ShipBob or Shipment because they're like, oh, now I need 40 warehouses and everything like that. And the reality is, you might just need, if you're mom and pop 3PLs on the West Coast, you might just need another mom and pop 3PL on the East Coast. For example, if they're doing a great job, if you are that bigger fish in their sea, that's better than being just another client oftentimes to some of these larger 3PLs. If you're getting that higher level of service, you can still use that same 3PL and expand to another company out there. But at the same time, if you already are a heavily established brand, you're not going to want to go to a mom and pop style 3PL that is not in a great location and can't handle your volume. So that's really the capacity side. But as for the larger 3PLs too, another thing to consider is SLAs. Even the larger 3PLs during Q4 especially, they don't always do a great job of staying on top of orders. We've seen lots of evidence to show that some of these largest 3PLs, they could be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days behind on orders during Q4. Especially during these past couple of years when volumes have been, historic, like crazy high, compared to historical volumes. So, that's where those SLAs start to come in handy, where you're making sure that your 3PL is actually holding up their end of the bargain.
Definitely. You obviously don't want to have any, upset customers, especially when it comes to missing products or just delayed shipping around the holidays. It's just a really bad experience all the way. Now, tell me what sets OTW apart from everybody else.
Yeah. So I think the main thing about OTW that really makes us stand out is, like I was talking about, the mom and pop side of things, where you're that big fish in their pond, and you might even have the owner's phone number, so that you've got great communication and great support on that side of things. But again, they can't really handle that volume as you scale. So you're going to either have to find a larger 3PL to handle that, or find another provider on the other coast or something like that. So then you take the flip side of that, and you have these large 3PLs, your ShipBots, your Shipmonks, companies like that, where they obviously have beautiful software. They're private equity backed, or venture backed. They've got all sorts of money to deal with. But they do experience high churn because of the nature of their model and the money backing them. And because all these smaller clients that are kind of swarming to them, they're not getting that same level of support. It's very much they have to bend a certain way to fit their model. And so, and the execution side may be hit or miss depending on the product and who it is. So we really kind of tried to do our best to combine those better parts of a mom and pop style 3PL, where you have someone in the warehouse who knows your product. You've got your own channel where you can talk to your that person in the warehouse. You have the owners available. You have support available in those channels from people who actually know your products, as opposed to having an account manager or something like that who has 100 different clients, and it's email communication and support tickets, and basically everything is super slow and triage. But then it's also taking the software side, where you've got great software and integrations, everything flows smoothly there, and we have best in class SLAs. So you've got orders going out up until 2 p.m. the same day. You've got shipments being received in 2 to 3 days max. So it's basically combining that support level where it feels like your own personal warehouse team with the execution that you would expect from a larger 3PL.
I mean, it sounds like you guys really just go for that white glove service, right? High touch, high detail. Like that's exactly what should be looking for when it comes to this 3PL. We've covered so much information. I hope people took notes because this is a lot of good, valuable information. I really appreciate you guys taking the time today and going over this for us. Where can people find you if they have additional information or, just want to ask some more questions about OTW?
They can go to otwshipping.com and, all of our information is there. Or they can give us a call. All our contact information is on our site. And I'm sure Pete will give us a solid and link that in the comments as well. So if anyone has any questions.
Who are you guys? I have no idea who you guys are. What are you talking about?
If anyone has any questions, even just about 3PLs in general, we've built out a lot of resources to help out on that front, whether it's how to choose a 3PL, when you do need a 3PL. We have a great quiz that's built out for that, as well as like a 3PL pricing template. A lot of these brands going through quotes with 3PLs, they all have different pricing models. A lot of them have, hidden fees or not easily findable fees and things like that. And so it's hard to get your true cost per order. And that's one thing. The one last thing that I would probably stress is when you're comparing 3PLs, you can't really compare everything apples to apples. For example, our pick rates, let's say it was $1.50 for your first unit for our pick rates. If you're comparing that to ShipBob, ShipBob has free pick and pack for the first 4 units. So if you were comparing those directly, it's like, well, why not ShipBob? It's free. But then when you think about it, every 3PL makes money somewhere. So ShipBob's got all their fulfillment fees wrapped into one, and ours are kind of broken down into a couple of different categories. So it's something where you can't compare apples to apples. You got to get what I call your total fulfillment cost, which is basically all of your costs in a month divided by the number of orders you have in a month. So that includes storage, that includes any, special project fees, if you have some stuff that you do recurring, or anything like that. Totaling that all up and getting your true cost per order. That way you're kind of removing the variables of pick and pack and like comparing it that way, apples to apples, and getting that on with one true number. And we built out a 3PL pricing template as well that can help out with that. So feel free to visit our site. Even if you're not looking for a 3PL right now, there's some great resources to get you familiar with 3PLs and go from there.
Yeah, great way to get everything started the right way, right? Again, thank you, gentlemen, for being on today. We really appreciate you being on E-Comm Elevated. And you guys have a great rest of your day.
Awesome. Thanks, Pete.
Thanks again for listening. We hope you'll use some of the insights provided on today's show to elevate your own business's success. As always, listen and subscribe to E-Comm Elevated or follow our Soapbox social media for more amazing advice. I've been your host, Pete from Soapbox. Have a great week, and we'll see you in the next episode of E-Comm Elevated.